Alright, so chapter 8 of the book begins on page 223 and it is titled Creating, Editing, Formatting Worksheets Using Excel. Microsoft Excel is a spreadsheet application in which you store information, data, text values as well, within rows and columns, and each intersection of those rows and columns is called a cell, which I'll show you here in a minute what that looks like. It's important to note that many of the same features that you're used to seeing in Word are available in Excel, but there's also some very big differences that you'll see. Also note that an Excel file is called a workbook, and within that workbook there's actually tabs of different worksheets, which could be totally different. You can almost think of it like little documents within one big document. The book gives the example of a binder, where the binder itself is a workbook and each sheet in that binder is a worksheet. So I'll show you here in a minute what that looks like. On page 224 of the book, the first section is creating and editing a new worksheet. So we're going to begin by opening up Excel. I actually have on my start menu an Excel shortcut because I use it all the time. And we're going to open up a blank workbook, and you'll see that like I said before, an Excel sheet is columns and rows. There can be, as far as the columns go, they're labeled from A to Z, and then it starts with AA all the way to AZ, then BA to BZ, and so on all the way through the alphabet. The rows are numbered from 1 all the way to 1,048,576. Just so you know, you will probably never see the full extent of Excel as far as columns and rows, but that is the limit in Excel 2013. So we already opened up the blank worksheet. You can see here that the address A1, which is comprised of the A as a column, row 1. So A1 is the address for this cell. And this is the default active cell, and you can tell your active cell by the green border around the cell. So if you wanted to make another cell, for instance D3, the active cell, when you click on it, it'll give that green border and show the active cell. So the important thing about the active cell is that's where the information you're typing is going to go, whatever cell you've got activated. Also notice that our mouse is no longer just the little arrow pointer, it's now a cross, and that's called the cell pointer. Up here we have a formula bar where we can type in formulas or information that we want to appear in the cell. We're going to go over formulas here in a little bit. And then also we have this name box that tells the name or the address of the cell. Also, when we go to later sections of the book, of the chapter, and even into the next chapter, we're going to name ranges of cells, and you'll see that range name there. Down here you've got some familiar thing. Down here there's some familiar things like the status bar, as well as some zoom and view buttons. You've got vertical and horizontal scroll bars. And down here we have the sheet tab bar, which displays all the sheets that are in this Excel workbook. You'll see here the default name is sheet 1. You can also add sheets, and we'll rename these at a later point too. Also notice that similar to Word, the toolbars are laid out in tabs with different things. Yours probably does not have Developer or Foxit PDF. Those are two things that I use in my job quite often. But so you know, on page 225 there is a description of all the things I just went over, those basic definitions that you should review. To begin with, we've already got that blank worksheet open. We're going to go ahead and make sure A1 is the active cell, which it is by default. And to insert the information in pages 3, 4, 5, and 6, we're just going to make sure that the cell that it's wanting us to type into is the active one by either pushing enter or clicking. So I'll show you right now what I'm talking about. So A1's the active cell. We're going to type in car purchase cost. Then we're going to push enter, which is going to move us down a row. And in A2 we're going to type excuse me, pre-owned Ford Focus sedan. And we're going to push enter twice to move down 2 rows. Also, if we're in A2 as the active cell and we wanted to go to A4, we could just select it to make it the active cell. And we're going to type in total purchase price, not prints, price. And then we're going to go to A6. We're going to type in loan details. Now we're going to scoot over to the B column. We're going to go to B7 and type in the information that appears on page 225 of the book, which is amount of payment. I'm going to go down, I'm going to do term, total loan payments. We're going to go over to A11, type in down payment made at purchase. A13, total loan payments and down payment. And A15, cost of borrowing. Now in F4, we're going to type the total purchase price of $16,700.00, and notice that when we push enter or select another cell to be active, the 00 is going to fall off, and that's because by default Excel automatically removes the 0.00. Later we'll see that if it was, for instance, 5 cents, it will leave that, but when it's a whole dollar amount like that, it'll take off the leading or the trailing zeros just like that. Later we will work on formatting that so we can manipulate that if we want. We're going to go through on page 226 step 9 and add in information in the E column of 470.05, 36, and then down payment made at purchase is going to be $1,700. So that's it for creating a new Excel document, and we also enter some information in there. Next we're going to look at creating formulas to perform calculations, which is really where Excel comes in very useful. A formula begins with an entry, begins with the first character as an equal sign, and then we can use formulas to do mathematical operators, as well as later in the more advanced sections we're going to do some logic with formulas as well. Excel formulas are very powerful, but to begin with we're going to look at mathematical operators, which on 226 list addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and exponentiation, and it gives you the symbols to use for that, so we'll go through that. Step 10 wants us to make E9 the active cell, and we're going to type equals E7. So the E7 is automatically recognized as a cell address, and it highlights that and gives a shading of blue for it, and that also that blue corresponds down here where we type the formula in. Now we're going to hit the multiplication, which is the asterisk, times E8. And again, Excel automatically knows that E8 is a cell address, so it highlighted it, but it also gave us a new color so we can tell in the formula which one is which. With multiplication, since it doesn't matter the order, that's not so important, but later down the line you're going to want to see that, and it helps really well to adjust your formulas. Now notice when we hit enter that the value from E8 is automatically going to be times by the value in E7, and the total will display here in the cell, just like that, 16,921.80. Also notice that if you click back on the active cell, Excel automatically capitalizes those E's for the column. That's just how it does it by default. You can actually type the formula lowercase like we did, or uppercase. Either way, Excel's going to know. Next we're going to put a formula into F13. So in F13, we're going to type in equals, so we can tell Excel, hey, we're going to do a formula. This time, instead of doing the cell address it's typing in, we're going to use the pointing method, which is where you click on the cell that you want to put into the formula. So we want to take E9, so we're going to go click on E9. Notice again it's going to automatically give us a color, and this time, since we pointed on it, it gives us this moving border to show, hey, you clicked on me last. And now we're going to do the plus sign in step 14, and we're going to do E11. So we click on it. So now our formula is E9 plus E11 to give us the total loan payments and down payment. We're going to push enter, and now we're going to put a formula in F15 as well. We're going to do equals F13 minus F4. And again, it's taking this one minus the purchase price to give us the cost of borrowing. We push enter, and the value will be displayed just like we expected. So that's how we insert formulas and perform some mathematical calculations. Now we're going to look at editing cells. We're going to edit some values in these cells. There's two different ways that you can edit the values. One is to double click on the cell and adjust it. If you want to completely erase the cell, you can click on the cell and push delete. That'll clear out any values or formulas. Or you can actually click on in the editing group the clear button and then select clear all. That's the same thing as delete key. And I said there was two ways of editing, but there's also a third. If you want to edit using the formula bar, when you click on a cell, it'll show a formula or the value you have, and we're going to edit using both the clicking on the cell and doing it, and using the formula bar. So first, we're going to make E7 the active cell, and we're going to type over this value. So instead of 470.05, we just want it to be 480.95. So to do that, instead of double clicking on the cell or using the formula bar, we're just going to type over at 480.95. And when we push enter, it's going to accept that value. If for any reason you did mess up when you typed it and you just want to go back to the value that was there before you push enter or make another cell active, you push escape, it'll actually just default back to the other value that was there before. But for now, we want it to be 480.95, and we're going to push enter. And what that's going to do is any formulas that use this value are going to automatically update to the new math for 480.95. You see both of these formulas updated to the new amount. So next, we're going to edit a cell by double clicking on the cell itself instead of typing over the whole value. We just want to modify part of it. So in F4, instead of 16,700, we want it to read 15,700. So what we're going to do is just double click on the cell, and it gives us our insertion point in there. We're just going to backspace out that 6 and put in a 5. And again, when we push enter, it's going to accept that value, and any formulas that use that cell value are going to update. And you'll see that cost of borrowing did. Now we're going to use the formula bar to edit the cell value. So we're going to make E11 the active cell. And we're going to make, instead of 1700, we're going to make it just 700. So what we're going to do is we're going to go up here to the formula bar and get our insertion point and just put it right there and just click in the formula bar and just backspace that one. Notice that the cell value that's displayed down here adjusts as you type in the formula bar. And again, we're going to push enter, and any formulas that are used, that cell value will update. And you can see they updated as well. So we're going to save this. We're going to go to File, Save As. I'm going to save it in my Chapter 8 desktop directory. I'm going to name it 8.1 Car Cost Adjusted. Click Save. And that's all there is for creating and editing new worksheets, adding values into those cells, and editing as well as formulas.